What's going on, everybody? Ryan the Mighty Quinn here, the Cornerman _ MMA, talking a little post UFC 292, in particular, Aljamain Sterling's next move. Now, Aljo, arguably the best bantamweight champion in UFC history, uh, which would call for an immediate rematch. I don't think that's the case here. I think that there's a lot that can happen. There's a lot of moving parts, and quite honestly, I feel that Aljo talked himself out of a rematch prior to the fight. What do I mean by that? It's been well documented that he's pretty sure he was moving up to featherweight right after this fight. He said it many times. Can't take the weight cut anymore. He's over it. Whether that means he was overlooking Sean O'Malley, I don't really think that, but he was being, people were ready. The fans, the market was ready for him to be a featherweight, competing in the featherweight division, which could use a little bit more star power on the back end of the top 10 pound rankings, top 10 rankings. Sorry. So, and he was also pushing for Merab to fight for the title after, for the vacant title or whatever. So he's already pushing his teammate. He almost made the next title fight, although that's not going to happen whatsoever now, without even knowing it. It's Merab's time. He kept saying it's my teammate's time, Merab's time, one of my best friends, blah, blah, blah. And on top of that, granted, they're going to be cool no matter what, but that's almost the equivalent of giving your friend half of your sub and then dropping yours and be like, give me that back. So that's what I think of it as. And quite honestly, myself, I know a lot of the people, we want to see Merab Dvalishvili fight for the belt. I would love to see him fight Sean O'Malley. I know Corey Sandhagen got hurt, so that kind of moved him aside. That would have been another wrinkle to add to this whole thing going on right now. So let's talk about last. Well, obviously, Dana White already said that Chito Vera is going to fight Sean O'Malley in his rematch for the Bantamweight title. I think that's a little premature. Honestly, I would rather see a rematch with Aljo over Chito getting his title fight. And although Chito is one of my favorite fighters to watch in the UFC right now, I just think that the one win after the loss to Corey Sandhagen, which was a questionable win at that over Pedro Munoz, shouldn't get him a title shot. But this is what sells right now. And I want to make it clear, it's not that I don't think that Aljo does not deserve a title fight. I just think that the way the attraction is going, the audience is like, he already pushed himself out of that rematch picture. He's already riding up into the featherweight division. Now there's a lot to be done at the bantamweight division. There's a lot of other stuff there. A lot of other people are trying to push outside of Chito Vera, Develish. I forgot how long Sandhagen's injury is going to be, but he's obviously a name as soon as that pops back up. Who was Rob Font? Who did Rob Font replace? I forgot who Rob Font replaced. Name skipping me right now, but that's a name that could be going up. Rob's still in the picture himself. And there are some attractive fights for Aljo at 145. I was just going over this. Now, I wouldn't put Aljo against a Max Holloway right away, although he could, especially if he was winning and then he went up, that's a different story. Or an area, I would have him go against like a Danny Ige, not an Edson, Bryce Mitchell. I would love to see that fight. Ivloev is good. Maybe Calvin Kattar, but I wouldn't go past the top 8. I would get him winning again before he goes for the big fight against Volk or one of the big super names in the top of the 45-pound heap. Now, I kind of glanced over it. I didn't mean to do that, but let's talk about the fight with Sean O'Malley a little bit. He said that he didn't want to be boring. I know that people would chalk that as an excuse. It's not an excuse to what people think. Me, someone who was a wrestler first, I was told by the administration at the time in Bellator to get my hands moving. Even when I was in XFC, they basically told me that if I'm boring, I'm not going anywhere as far as getting paid or getting big fights. So now, granted, one of the greatest fighters at the bantamweight division ever lived probably had a little more play in that, but still it gets you, you want to be a little exciting. So I totally get it when he says I didn't want to be boring. So he kind of pushed, although he definitely exerted himself and pushed too much against Sean. Sean, he's got very good linear strikes. As you could go back and look at my fight breakdown video, my fight look on this fight He's very good right up the middle with the kicks, straight punches. And when that happens, if you're rushing in, you're going to get caught with a very zippy counter right hand, which is exactly what happened on Saturday night. If you look at it, Aljo was kind of reaching. His chin was kind of in the air. Maybe he could have covered that up, crisped it, made it a little more crispy with a feint behind it. Not rush on Sean. You don't. That's the other thing is I didn't really. He really needed to rush that hard on Sean in that instance. Sean was being defensive takedowns. That's fine. Then you just switch it up and go in takedowns and moving your head with strikes on the way in, or moving your head with strikes and sticking with the boxing. I think that Aljo has better angle boxing than O'Malley. So I'm not completely sold. That's another reason why I don't think that this rematch is going to happen. I don't think the UFC wants to see Aljo fight O'Malley again. Even though he lost by knockout, I think that Aljo's a bad matchup for O'Malley. I think that the adjustments will be made, let alone in between rounds, the whole camp. So I think that the UFC is going to try to very carefully plot their next fight with Sean O'Malley. Similar to what happened with Conor McGregor. He's not on that level yet, Sean, but he's on his way. And but actually, I think he has a lot less holes than Conor McGregor. If I'm going to be honest with you, his takedown defense is much better, but he still lacks a little bit. And I think that they're going to be careful with that. I think that a Mirab or a Corey Sandhagen is a horrible matchup for him. They're a horrible matchup for anybody, the way they mix up the striking and the wrestling. But I think they're going to be very cautious. And given Aljo his back, and they can totally lean on it. It's very easy to lean on. No, you already said you're going to 145. So that's what we're planning on with you. Put it on him. I can see that happening. Now, but again, stranger things have happened. Maybe Aljo keeps his weight down. Somebody gets hurt. He zips in on 3 weeks' notice to fight Sean. Who knows when that's going to happen, though? Let's see. It's August. Do you put this? I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot to do in the UFC right now with title fights. I don't know if they're going to be on the December card, but or Sean defending his fight on the December card, but we'll see. It's going to be very interesting, the Sean O'Malley title run. I'm really interested to see what happens for him. I'm rooting for him. People have been hating on him his last 3 or 4 fights, and he's at the very least he's in these fights. I know people, it should have went this way, it should have went that way. I think a lot of people just don't like the guy. I thought Pedro was beating him personally, but it's really going to be interesting to see what happens. Anyway, that's what I got. Let me know what you guys think. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.